Quote number 1. A man who dares to waste 1 hour of time has not discovered the value of life. This means that people who do not understand the value of time have no idea about the value that life has. Anyone who values time doesn't even waste a single moment and utilizes every moment to its fullest. Time is something that cannot be retrieved once it is gone. The biggest business giants in the world value time above everything else. For example, Bill Gates is someone who makes hundreds of dollars per second. If he drops a $100 bill, it would not be worth his time to pick it up. Any person who is super successful is able to make it big because he or she utilized his or her time fully. Time is the biggest treasure there is. It is even bigger than money because you can make money if you have time, but you cannot make time if you have money. One thing to learn here is that we must value time above everything else because if we have time, we can do anything. Quote number 2. A scientific man ought to have no wishes, no affections, a mere heart of stone. This means that a person who is scientific-minded has no desires or likings and does not care about anything. He or she is 100% focused on his or her work and gives every moment to figure out the solutions to the problems he or she is facing. This way your emotions or feelings cannot influence your decisions. In this case your analysis actually becomes neutral and you can look at something from all different possible angles. You have to look at reality as it is. One example of this is that of Isaac Newton. Newton was a solitary child who spent most of his childhood alone building miniature mills, carts, machines, etc. Even in adulthood, he avoided the company of others. He did not have many friends during his lifetime. His life was lonely but intensively creative. He spent much of his time in intellectual quarrel. One thing to learn from this is that we need to be scientific-minded in order to solve problems of our life because in this way there is a higher probability of success. Quote number 3. The highest possible stage in moral culture is when we recognize that we ought to control our thoughts. This means that if a person realizes that he or she can control his or her thoughts, it is one of the most important realizations of a person's life because that's what defines the entire morality of a person. Most people in the world are entangled in their own thoughts. We don't have a choice of what kinds of thoughts come to our mind, but we can control how much importance we give to those thoughts. And our thoughts are really powerful because they guide our actions. Criminals usually give a lot of importance to the dark thoughts that come to their mind, and so their actions cause gigantic problems for them and the victims and people around them. If we say that we cannot control our thoughts, it means we cannot control our life. One thing to learn here is that we need to have total control of our thoughts so that our morality keeps intact and we can grow in life. Quote number 4. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. This means that people who survive and flourish in the world are not the ones who are the most talented or the most powerful or the strongest, but those who are actually adaptable and change themselves according to the situation. People should be like water, as Bruce Lee said. Water is actually something that actually takes the shape of the container it is put into. It can pass through even the slightest of gap as it is adaptable. There is a famous phrase coined by Herbert Spencer, survival of the fittest. This means that you must always have a learning mindset and an ability to adjust yourself according to your surroundings like a chameleon. For example, actors who last the most in a film industry are the ones who are able to adapt themselves according to the different roles which are offered to them. An actor who only makes a specific category is not left with any work to do after some time. A real actor is one who constantly changes himself or herself according to different characters. Not to imply that specializing in particular kind of roles is a bad thing, but adaptability increases the sustainability of an actor. One learning from this is that we should learn to change with time and situations around us so that we become successful in the long term.